Hi, I'm Emily from Emily Bakes Cakes, and today I'm going to make coconut macaroons. So now this recipe also comes from my Foster's Market cookbook, and it is one that is super amazing because it gives you such delicious chewy macaroons. Not to be confused with macarons. My sister makes macarons, and they are so beautiful and delicious. But I don't like piping things, and so I've never ventured there. But what we start out with first is putting in this bowl is 7 egg whites. Now I remember watching America's Test Kitchen a long time ago, and they said that the best way to crack eggs is to do them against a flat surface, because you know they're curved, and so if you do them against a flat surface, then that creates a good crack. So we have 7 egg whites in this bowl, and we're going to add, oh, my hands are wet. Oh, let's see, I'll turn this down too. So we have 7 egg whites, and what we're going to add is 1.5 cups of sugar. So there's 1 cup and a half. My daughter Katie made these one time. She made a double batch, and they were super delicious, and my cousin loved them so much that she asked for the recipe. So did several other people from Katie making them. So I mean, it's a fairly easy recipe. This is 2 tablespoons or 1/8 cup of honey, and so it's probably an easier way to squish the honey out of this, but anyway. So here is the 2 tablespoons of honey. There we go. Now, I have to tell you that these Foster's Market cookbook is one of my favorite cookbooks, as I've mentioned before. And in fact, my sister Lisa, because she bought the cookbook, because I had been mentioning every time she said, "Where'd you get this recipe? It's so good." I would say, "Oh, I got it from Foster's Market cookbook," and so she bought it on the basis of the brownies, and I think these, and also the lemon bars. So, okay, so now we have our 7 egg whites, our 1.5 cups of sugar. We're going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla. There we go. And there we go. Okay. You rinse the honey off of my hand. And what we're going to do is we're going to whisk this. Now, those of you that have watched my video on the buttercream will probably be aware of how you whisk this egg whites and sugar over boiling water and the cool mixture that it turns into. It turns really clear and foamy on top. Well, I mean, not clear necessarily, but translucent. It looks way different than it looks right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this over to the stove and put it on top of the boiling water I have over there. But I guess actually first, before we go, we're going to get our coconut ready, because we're going to heat this up until all the sugar is dissolved, and then we're going to come back and pour it on our coconut. So I just have this bowl here, which is super convenient, from all those Pampered Chef parties I used to go to years and years ago. And on this side over here, it has cup marking, and so what you need is 6 cups of coconut. Now, I like these macaroons a lot because they have the big flakes of coconut like this. I don't like those really thin and more dry kind of macaroons. Let's see, we'll just add the rest of it, because it's weird to have just a small amount. There we go. All right, so 6 cups of coconut, and then we add in 1¼ cups of flour. And we just mix that all together. So there's 1 cup, and then 1/4 cup. Okay, let me get spatula. There we go. So you just kind of mix this all in with each other. Because one reason I wanted to try this recipe when I first got the cookbook is simply because it didn't have butter in it. And I thought that's really an interesting way to make these cookies. And they turn golden and they're absolutely beautiful and delicious. And if you want, you can drizzle chocolate on top or dip them in chocolate, and that tastes really good as well. Okay, so now that we've mixed that, we're going to take our sugar and egg white mixture over and start whisking it on here. So this would be an interesting thing to watch, the change that happens. This is one of those cooking techniques that I find interesting as well. So here we go. And actually I've made it in the pan without even putting it over the boiling water, and that has worked just as fine too, because I thought, well, that'll take less time to do it in the pan, and it does, it takes less time. So anyway, but if you are worried about not being able to keep your egg whites from cooking to the bottom, then this is a great way to do it too. If you feel more confident about your whisking, your vigorous whisking abilities, then you could try it in the pan. Because what we're doing is we're just making this syrup that when it mixes with that flour and the coconut, it turns it into a really amazing type of cookie. Amazing type of cookie batter. Alright, so we can see this has already started loosening up. We just need to make sure all of the sugar is melted and get it more liquidy, or more smooth, I guess, more runny. My sister also, she makes these with the egg white boxes that you can buy at the store, which I think is also super convenient, because then you don't have to worry about getting that mess all over your hands. Let's see. I think this looks maybe, here we go. I want to make sure that that honey is melted in there as well. Don't want a big chunk of honey, or maybe you do. That's your thing. So let me turn this down just a little bit. It's getting steam on my fingers. So you can see that it's really become a lot looser. And it's all pretty much uniformly liquid right now, I think. I think that the sugar has melted. And of course it's this color because we have the honey, which is a different color, and then also the vanilla that we added in. But you can see how runny that has become. And that, I think, is the melted sugar. Let's see. I think it seems like the sugar has all melted out of that. And it has gotten, let's see, well, it's not very warm yet. So, and it's not necessarily to get it warm, but it's just to make sure that all the sugar is melted. So maybe I'll give it just a, we'll come back in just a minute. Okay, so I think that this is ready. So it looks milky in color, and it's all melted. So we'll come up back over and we'll put it on in the coconut. Okay, so we're pouring the liquid in. Macaroons, I think, are one of those super fancy desserts that don't take very much time at all. But some people either really love it or hate them, right? Like they love coconut or they do not. And I am someone who loves coconut. I love the taste of coconut. I love pina coladas. You want to just mix it and make sure that you don't have any hidden pockets of flour or dry coconut in there. So here's what I will tell you is that I have made the mistake of thinking, oh, I don't need to let it chill in the refrigerator. And they turned out, I mean, obviously they turned out tasty, but not as tasty as they are when you let them cool off in the refrigerator. When I did not let them cool off, or I haven't let them get as solid in the refrigerator as, let them stay in the refrigerator for about an hour, then they are much more runny and spread out and don't maintain their shape as well, so that you get that delicious chewiness in the inside. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. You can totally smell the honey. That's interesting. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'll just put saran wrap over this, and you can let it chill for an hour or overnight, but at least try to let it chill for an hour so that they will maintain their shape on the cookie sheet. Hi, so I'm really glad that I discovered the mistake that I made when I was making the sugar mixture. So I had only put in 1.5 cups of sugar versus the 2.5 cups of sugar. And while I was dishing it out, I was like, this is really a lot thinner than I had thought. But this is what the consistency is after it's been in the fridge for a bit of time. And then this is a batch that we just took out of the oven. Now, this is, she recommends a 1/4 cup scoop. And this is a 1/4 cup scoop. So this is how big it is. And you, of course, are welcome to make it smaller because, I mean, obviously it doesn't make that big of a batch. Oh my goodness, look at that. That all fell apart. This is all sticky. A lot more sticky than you would think. So I use parchment paper, but so good. But you, if you don't have parchment paper, that's 100% fine. You can just lightly grease your pan in order to cook them. Now you cook them at 300 for 20 minutes probably. These are at 20 minutes, and the recipe says 17 to 20 minutes, and that's where you get the crispiness around the edge and the inside is still soft and creamy, and you can see like it's pretty sticky still. I did cook up the other batch that I made that had a cup less sugar, and my husband thought that it was good, but the problem was that it was more dry and cakey. So I'll just show you kind of like how big this is on here. And let's see, we'll put this in here, and you can see they spread out obviously, but this is how much this makes. So I probably would make them a little bit smaller if I was taking them to a party. And obviously, if you want, you can put the maraschino cherries in there, and that would be delicious as well. My husband really likes that, and so do a couple of my kids, but I could not bear the thought of going to the grocery store one more time. So, all right, let me scrape this last of this out. And it's fine if you make it the day before and you leave it overnight in the fridge. And I guess that isn't enough for a whole one, so I'll just kind of put it there and kind of put a little bit of this on this one so that it all comes together. And these ones, you can see that they spread out without needing to push them down. For the ones that had the flour or the extra sugar, this is what they ended up looking like this. And you can see that the bottom is different because it wasn't as moist. And so this is the difference. So this obviously has more cake-like, and this one is more sticky. And actually right now, so we'll just break it open so you can see the difference between the two. Well, let me put this in the oven first to get it. All right, so this one is the one that I broke off when I was taking it off. And I mean, and these are pretty warm, but you can see, so this is what it looks like, and it's fairly sticky and moist. But even yesterday when I broke these ones open, you can see that they're more cake-like on the inside. So you just have to decide kind of, I guess, what you would like. And you could probably go with the less sugar and just add less flour, and you would get, you know, the same results. My husband thought that this was the right amount of sweetness, but I really like this kind of chewiness. I like the edges the best. So, and obviously after you can drizzle them with chocolate, but I think this kind of macaroon is super great. I am reading the Westing Game. I work at the school, and we're doing in fifth grade, and we're doing a reading group on the Westing Game, and one of the things that they describe is when the lady, Sidel Pulowski, goes to people's house for tea, and she ends up having a macaroon, and she's like, it's so sticky, it sticks all in your teeth, and I'm going to be tasting it for days. And maybe that's the mark of a great macaroon. So I hope you enjoy it.